It's time for the Curtis Riggs Show. The head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm. The Curtis Riggs Show on FM 98.1, AM 1230, KWSN, and KWSN.com. The Curtis Riggs Show being brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute. Now, here's your host of the Curtis Riggs Show, the voice of the Sioux Falls Storm, Rich Rosti.
And good at Curtis Riggs Show. Now, this is a different day for the Curtis Riggs Show. Ordinarily, the Curtis Riggs Show is on Monday at 6 o'clock. But because of KWSN's coverage of the Summit League tournament, the Curtis Riggs Show just moved to today. And also, here's a reminder about next week's show. There won't be one. And the reason for that is the Sioux Falls Storm going to be playing that night at the Denny Sanford Premier Center against the Cedar Rapids Titans. And the kickoff is at 6 o'clock for that game. That's a different time, different starting time, also a different day for Storm football. But it's going to be on Monday at 6 o'clock kickoff, and we'll have the ball game for you right here on KWSN. But that no Curtis Riggs Show next week. But and today it's on a different day, but we'll still talk Storm football. We're going to talk to the Storm head coach about the IFL. We're going to talk to him about some activities that he takes care of away from Sioux Falls Storm football. And also we're going to be talking to Rashad Mungro. Rashad is the offensive lineman with the Sioux Falls Storm. He is the only returning offensive lineman from last year. I want to talk to him about his change in his role and how things have changed on the offensive line for the Storm. Then also we're going to be talking to Jim Loria. And the Sioux Falls Storm season opener home schedule starts on Monday, like we talked about, against Cedar Rapids at 6 o'clock on Monday. But there's going to be some really neat things going on there, some changes in some production things, games that they have during the course of the evening, and we're going to be talking to Jim Loria about that. So all of this is coming up on the Curtis Riggs Show, and it is presented each week by the official Storm sports medicine providers. That's Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital, the Storm official healthcare team, and the only 5-star rated hospital in Sioux Falls, and by Orthopedic Institute, the one to trust. Coming up next, he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs, and you're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show on FM 98.1, AM 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN.
Rich and Sue Rosti recently decided to...
The biggest difference in Boyer and other truck dealerships is the fact that we're an employee-owned company. From the front of the building with the sales to the back of the building with service and parts, you're dealing with the owner of the company. We have the smallest vehicles all the way up to the biggest vehicles. We're a truck dealer by heart, and by design, we deal in the whole gamut of the vehicles. There's not a lot of dealers that do that. This is a relationship business, and I enjoy the relationships a lot.
Need a fun night out? Head over to Burnside Bingo for an exciting night of bingo. Budget-friendly, new equipment, and a fresh remodel. A variety of games to keep the excitement rolling all night, plus great food and drink specials. Try something new this week and check out the all-new Burnside Bingo. Visit burnsidebingo.com for special events and more information.
If you like to bowl, roll on into Eastway Bowl. Hey, wait a minute. Eastway Bowl is more than just bowling. It's a full of fun entertainment center. There's many things to do. Games, and more games, plus food. Great food. Come into our full-service sports bar and grill where you'll find terrific drinks with our popular late-night specials. Watch all your favorite sporting events at Eastway. Visit our website to make your bowling reservations and find out more about the full fun experience. Eastway Bowl and Entertainment Center, where there's something for everyone.
You're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
And our opening interview with Storm head coach Curtis Riggs is brought to you by the great folks over at Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. They've been Storm sponsors since day one. Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Come see what fresh really is. And they deliver anywhere in Sioux Falls, and their subs are just breader. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. Coach, it just seems like it's been a very long time since you and I talked out in Phoenix, Arizona, doing the Curtis Riggs Show early in the morning out there, and no football in between. It just seems like it's been kind of a too long a break in between times as far as Storm football is concerned. What do you think?
It does. Yeah, it's almost like we're starting the season all over again now, with this time in between playing the first. You know, you have camp, you play the game, and then you send the guys away. And now coming back, it was like really starting all over with a new approach, a new opponent, and kicking the season off.
And then we have to wait until Monday to do the next game. And then that's going to be on the 12th, and the next game is going to be on Sunday, the 18th. So the schedule is different. How does that affect you as far as your planning, your practices? Because I have to believe right now it's kind of tough to get into a rhythm.
Yeah, it does. It really has an impact with not as much this first Monday night game, just because coming off the bye week, we can create a routine. But then you turn around and you play. You go Monday and then Sunday and then a Saturday game after that. And so it's really, there's no continuity to how the players develop a routine from week to week. And that's just one of those quirky things, in the indoor game and everyone having to set their arena dates around what's going on. I mean, we have the Summit tournament going on, and then there's a hockey match on Sunday, and so the turf won't be down until about noon on Monday, and so we won't ever get on the turf before the game, but it's the only time we're able to have a home game.
And considering the way things went over the course of the offseason, that changed, and so the teams, and actually, it was surprising to me how quickly the league came up with a schedule to redo everything and get it published within, a matter of just a few days, or at least less than a week, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think they had the plan ready the entire time. As soon as it was in court, then they were planning if it could go either direction. And they did a very nice job of that. I thought, for the transition of redoing the schedule, they did a very good job of compromising and making it wasn't near as bad as I envisioned when they said they were going to have to redo it. They made very little changes, and it went from being a perfect schedule, what I thought when we had, all the teams in, we played every team home and away. I mean, can't ask for any better than that, to now making it to where it's manageable. And, they're always going to have these weird dates. That's always a part of the indoor football. But it's pretty spread out when you play teams. You don't play anyone back-to-back for the most part. And, we'll get through it, and I think they'll get back to having a pretty solid league and schedule for next year.
Folks may not know all of the details that have happened in the offseason. We've kind of just brushed upon them and haven't talked about them in any detail. But could you just give us a short synopsis of what happened to brought us from 10 teams last year down to 8, down to 6?
Yeah.
We've got an hour, Curtis. So
yeah, and you can help me here because I'll probably leave something out. But, the league brought in the two teams, Salt Lake City and Colorado, that were owned by
franchise.
A franchise. And I'll just say at the league meetings when it was presented, I think it was presented to the owners that it would be an opportunity that's innovative and will make money and be interactive with the fans. And a lot of the owners really bought in. When it was presented to the coaches, it was not it wasn't received near as well. And I'll just say Coach Guy from Arizona and myself were absolutely at the opposite end of being on board with this. And our owners were very supportive of us, saying, we think this is very gimmicky. We think it's going to take away. We think there are some good things. Let's maybe start with small steps in it and then try to go instead of just thrusting ourselves fully into it. And we were kind of, we weren't taken very well with how we gave our input on it. So they came in and it was a disaster, and the league got through it, but they then pulled out from being in this next season, and that then affected some of the other teams on the West Coast that were going to be in the league, and some of those teams didn't come in because they had no one to play then. Mm-hmm. Well, then the league, as we looked at it, we just felt like there wasn't a lot of expansion happening, and the way to expand was very expensive, and it was very difficult for teams in this area to come on board in the IFL. And so then Todd looked at the other league, and it was presented to him to come into that. And for whatever reasons, as we started to make the steps to join the league, we found out that what was presented to us wasn't what we were actually going to get. And thankfully, we had not signed any documents to sign on to be a part of it at that point. So then we were approached by the IFL again about coming back and working things out. And, I think the commissioner and the other owners, especially Nebraska's owner, Charlie Balsamon, I think, does a very professional, fantastic job of treating the owners like his partner. And I think he did a great job of calling Todd and saying, hey, we can make this work still. And thankfully we could. And we came back in with the presumption that Bloomington and West Michigan were also coming in. But they had signed legal documents. What we didn't do, they had done to join the CIF. And because of that, they were bound to play in that league, and they thought they were able to get out of it, and they weren't. And so they have to sit out this year now, and that's how we went from 10 to 8 to 6, and we'll play with 6, and we'll have a very competitive season, I think. This year, I think you'll see a lot of extremely competitive games, and then I think you'll see the transition back into some growth starting in the off season.
Well, I tell you what, Curtis, you really put that in a great time capsule as far as what happened. It explained it very well, and I think the fans appreciate that because, there was a lot of talk, there was a lot of rumor and things like that, but I think you nailed it as far as exactly what had happened. And without going into all of the details, you were able to explain the whole story, and we thank you very much for that. And now
the one thing I just will add is when you write your book, the fans will be able to get all the details. It'll be a tell-all book, and fans will definitely want to get in line by that.
There will be nothing left out.
I'm sure not.
And we write new chapters about every time we travel or any time we turn around, it seems like. So
it does seem like Ryan Brink frequently now is going, this is going to be a big book. Yeah.
Around the IFL, there was only one game going on. We're going to be talking about it in a little bit more detail later on. But Cedar Rapids hosted Green Bay at the Blizzard, and Cedar Rapids defeated the Blizzard 47-39. The Storm, of course, plays Cedar Rapids coming up this Monday at 6 o'clock. But any comments about that game up front, and then we'll talk more about Cedar Rapids a little bit later in the broadcast.
Well, the one thing I'll say is I watched Green Bay play Iowa the week before, and Green Bay went I formation the entire game. And you haven't seen that since, I can't remember. It was one of the teams early in the league that actually went wishbone. But they went I formation the entire game against the Iowa Barnstormers. I mean, it would be 3rd and 20, and they were still sitting I formation. Now, this game, though, they went about 50% I formation, and then they were spread the rest of the game. And it really was a very well-played game. I mean, it it was back and forth, and both teams I thought played very hard, and it came down to very much like our game against Arizona, where Green Bay just made the last mistake, and Cedar Rapids was able to capitalize.
Well, interesting. Well, we'll talk more about Cedar Rapids. And how about the crowd? How'd they have for a crowd down at Cedar Rapids?
It was not near what we used to play against there when we used to play them for the conference titles. It's very disappointing to see how it's just changed so drastically. Now, hoping maybe a win and you build off that will start to get people in there. But it was probably one of the worst crowds I've seen in there.
Oh, that's too bad. We'll talk more about the Titans. They're coming to town next Monday. But, Coach, stay tuned. We'll be coming right back with more of the Curtis Riggs Show. But this segment brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. And come see what fresh really is. And they deliver anywhere in Sioux Falls. And their bread is just, subs are just breader. This is the Curtis Riggs Show on 98.1 FM 1230 Sports Radio KWSN.
So you need to see a doctor.
The Rosties wanted their new house to be unique, so they went back to Fireplace Pros. The upstairs is traditional, but the downstairs is very modern. They are delighted.
We wanted a different look and feel within our house, and Fireplace Pros, as always, helped us make it happen. They're the best.
Visit us on the web or stop by your nearest Heat & Glow or Heatalator dealer. Fireplace Pros, Heat & Glow, and Heatalator. You're going to love the way your home feels.
You're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
And welcome back to the Curtis Riggs Show. And this segment brought to you by Eastway Bowl, the perfect spot for family fun. The Eastway Sports Lounge, the official Storm road game viewing party host for all Storm fans. The next Storm away game viewing party is at 3:05 Sunday, March 18th, as the Storm travels down to Des Moines, Iowa, to face the Iowa Barnstormers. And this is the Curtis Riggs Show, live here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, the only place that you can have spring, skip summer, have fall, and back to winter in 3 days. And by the time the snow is done, it starts to melt, so we're back to spring again. So anyway, he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. And Coach, how did you spend your part of your bye week?
I spent it timed out perfect for me because I was able to spend just about the entire time. My daughter had a large dance competition up in the cities, so we were able to go up there. And then Saturday, as that concluded, get back and watch my son play his final high school basketball game.
Oh, my.
It's just what you do as a parent, and it was a lot of fun to be able to. My daughter had a great competition, and then my son played his heart out, and now he'll move on to playing college.
Well, the thing about it is that so many times that people from the community, when they follow a team, they see the person, head coach of the team, or they see a player or whatever, and that's the only role that they see them. And what people don't realize is that our lives are tremendously full and busy outside of the Sioux Falls Storm. And it's good for people to understand that and know that, and that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, I think for the most part, the community of Sioux Falls is very receptive in that area, especially you get to an inner workings of people that you deal with, and they recognize you in a capacity as a father and or running the academy. But there's always the times, where you step in it seems like High V is like a coaching convention, because I step in there and now everyone is a coach and telling me what we need to do and how we get things turned around. And I always appreciate the input. But it always seems to be at High V where I get that.
There's always an armchair quarterback somewhere, or armchair coach. Well, there is something else that you do besides taking care of the Storm, besides taking care of your family, and that is the Riggs Football Academy, and that's something that you have built up and grown. Tell us a little bit about what's going on out there right now and about how many kids that you impact in the course of a year.
Well, Yeah, that's hard to put a number on. Like right now we're building for, it's a very busy time building for our combine, which is, May 11th is when we do that. But leading into that, we do what we call as elite training. And at the elite training, we invite in regional kids that are going to participate in the combine. The combine will have about 250 kids.
Oh, my.
And then we'll have 26 colleges. Every Division II, FCS, and NAIA school in the 5-state region will attend it. And so the elite training, we invite about 50 to 60 select kids that we know are coming to the combine, and we do an 8-week program partnered with Power, and we work on everything for the combine. And the one really cool part is coaches will come in and watch the kids train. They'll come in and see how do they handle this coaching besides just the testing drills. Mm-hmm. Let's see them work out. Let's see their natural movements, and let's see how receptive they are to coaching, and when they're competing against other, what you could say are all-stars. So we're building up heavily for that. Then we have our large coaching clinic at SDSU. It's March 23rd, 24th. We're expecting about 250 coaches to come in, and we have speakers like Norm Chow and Dick Vermeil. And
really?
then we have an all-star cast of coaches from South Dakota and Nebraska and Minnesota. I'm just coaches that are coming in to speak and to help each other out. And so we partnered with the South Dakota High School Football Coaches Association. We partnered with South Dakota State, and then in 2 years we'll go down to USD and host this clinic at USD, and then we'll go back and forth between the two. And we just felt like there's not anything like it here, and we see all the coaches in South Dakota going somewhere else to get this kind of training. Well, why can't we do this here? And so South Dakota State was, let's do it when we're doing spring ball. Coaches can be hands-on as we're practicing. They can be right in the drills, and then they can talk to us about it, ask us about it. And while we're doing all this, let's bring in all these coaches for everyone to learn from. And so we were able to get a lot of great sponsors and a lot of great partners to come on and help us out with that.
And the thing about it is that if people think about the Riggs Football Academy, it's not just for the high schoolers. The guys that are looking to get into college, and gals too, I would imagine. But it's not just at that age group. You're also dealing with the young kids and starting how to play football correctly at a young age. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's when people call and ask, when do you do? We go year-round, and we go from kindergarten all the way to guys training for the combine, for the NFL combine, or, for NFL workouts. I mean, we go the whole gamut. And you're right, we don't have a guy that's training for the NFL doing the same workout that a kindergartner's doing. We try to build a core. We try to build a base and then go from there to help them, one, enjoy it. Are they having fun?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the most critical part, especially at that age. Is this something that they're going to want to come back and do? And then two, how can we incorporate some speed and agility work as we're having this fun? Let's make it to where they're not lining up and running sprints. Let's do drill work and make it competitive to where they don't even really realize they're doing it. Uh-huh. And it's exciting for them. And then we'll incorporate games. And then you start to build the fundamental drills that, hey, they're tackling in the correct form. Now, they're going to get scared and drop their head, but how do we get them to where the muscle memory teaches them not to do that? And so you try to build that base, and as they get older, they get stronger and more comfortable, and then it continues to grow from there.
One thing about it that people don't realize, the impact that you've had to the whole area has been tremendous. You've elevated the abilities, but also you have helped with possibilities. The kids that maybe had not looked at doing this and got into it, found out about the fun part, found out how to do it correctly, and when they got to a position to be able to join a team of some sort, they were able to do so with confidence and enjoy the sport, and that's the bottom line. You have to enjoy what you're doing on the field.
Well, yeah, thank you. And, one thing that, we have a nonprofit. I mean, one thing we found is we have a lot of very strong community members that want to help kids. And so we created a nonprofit, and the nonprofit is, we give away a scholarship, 2 scholarships actually, to help athletes that want to go play college football that maybe financially wouldn't be able to, so we try to assist that way. And then we also assist with kids that aren't able to go to camps or football equipment. All of these things, our nonprofit's able to help with. And we have a fantastic board. It's just a great group of individuals that volunteer their time. And, it's really about the kids. And it's something we don't glamorize because that's not what it's about. It's how do we get it out there that we can help kids and give them these opportunities.
Great stuff, Coach. Thanks for sharing all that stuff. I really appreciate hearing about it, and I know the community is really impressed with what you have accomplished and also grateful for what you've done. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Rich.
He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, and this is the Curtis Riggs Show. This segment brought to you by Eastway Sports Lounge, the official away game viewing party host. The next game is going to be on March 18th, a Sunday afternoon, 3:05 kickoff. That's when the Storm travel down to take on the Iowa Barnstormers. Coming up next, the offensive lineman with the Sioux Falls Storm, Rashad Mungro, and you're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show right here on FM 98.1 AM 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN.
Hey, you there, in your car. Let's take a moment to bond.
So, with our free checking, there are a few exceptions.
Wait, what is that? Did you just do air quotes?
Ma'am, just relax.
You did it again.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're still doing it.
Yeah.
Not all free checking is really free. Switch to one that is. Free Plus checking from First Premier Bank. No fees, no minimum balance. Plus earn interest. Get free online and mobile banking and more. Switch today at firstpremier.com/free.
You're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosty.
And welcome back to the Curtis Riggs Show. And this segment of the Curtis Riggs Show is the Storm Ticket Giveaway, brought to you by Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. And after our interview, we'll take the third caller at 336-1230 for 4 free tickets to the next game that's coming up on March 12th. That's next Monday, 6 o'clock game as Storm take on the Cedar Rapids Titans. Joining us now via the fan line is offensive lineman with the Sioux Falls Storm, Rashad Mungro. Rashad, thanks for being on the Curtis Riggs Show.
Thanks for having me.
Now, what year is this with you and being with a member of the Sioux Falls Storm?
This will be my 5th year.
6th year.
5th.
Boy, that doesn't seem possible that you've been, or 5 years? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
5, okay. But it doesn't seem possible that you've been with the Storm that long.
Yeah, time flies. It seems like only just last year was my first year coming in, with a lot of veteran guys, a lot of guys that have been proven time and time again, to be very, very talented and great players in the indoor game.
But the thing about this year, now Rashad Mungro is the returning veteran, the one with the experience. You are the only returning offensive lineman, and you have a couple new guys playing with you on that line of scrimmage. Tell me about how this year is different for Rashad and your role as a veteran.
This year is different in the aspect that, like you said, I'm a veteran, so I feel like, I'm in a position of leadership. I have, guys as far as the offensive line, defensive line, all over the team that kind of look at me, to see how things have been going, how things should be done, how we should conduct ourselves on and off the field, as opposed to, when I was the new guy, when I'd look at the Manias and the Charlies and the Chris Dixons, to see how I was supposed to carry myself.
And the thing about it is, what people don't realize with Rashad Mungro is the fact that you're the same on the field, off the field. You're not necessarily playing, but your demeanor is always one of control. and quiet control. You're not one of these guys that's in your face or very brash and things like that, but you have a very quiet demeanor, but you lead by example that way, and the guys relate to you very well. That's what I have seen. Is that how you feel in your role, too?
I'll take that compliment. You know, I can see that. I just kind of carry myself, you know, how I was raised. You know, I'm from a big family down in North Carolina. You know, my mother and all her sisters, you know, always kind of raised me to be humble. You know, they said the dog that always barks the loudest isn't always, you know, the best.
You're very true about that. However, as much as I built you up as this quiet giant with the Sioux Falls Storm, you laid a hit on one of the Arizona Rattlers down in Phoenix a week ago that just put him at a point of levitation. He was absolutely parallel and floating in the air after you hit him. Tell us about that play.
The flag was thrown, and then, you know, we tried to get that free play, and, you know, they managed to intercept the ball, and the refs allowed the play to go. And for a second, I was like, you know, I'm gonna chase this guy, but then I thought about it. I was like, no, because I know if I go running after that guy, you know, they're going to see this big guy running. Somebody's probably going to try to pick me off. So I kind of hid behind the defensive end that I've been playing against. And then when he got close enough to me, I just, you know, kind of took a few steps at him and pushed him as hard as I could. It actually surprised me that he went over the wall.
Well, I was partially screened because folks were standing up in front of me, but I talked to Coach Riggs about it, and for years we have talked about the Blackburn hit down in Casper, Wyoming on a kickoff. But Coach Riggs says that your hit, Mungro's hit down in Phoenix, will replace that as one of the all-time greatest hits in the Storm history.
Nice. I hope with that replacing that hit, I hope you'll remember that next time we have to do conditioning or something, and, you know, let me sit out on a couple of them.
Okay. Typical offensive lineman, always looking for a break when conditioning comes, don't we?
Well, you know what they say, if we have to run more than 20 yards, whoever has the ball should have scored by then.
That's exactly right. Well, Rashad, great having you on the Curtis Riggs Show. Always fun talking to you. Congratulations for what you have become with the Sioux Falls Storm, and that is a very quiet but impressive leader.
Thank you so much.
Rashad Mungro, offensive lineman with the Sioux Falls Storm. Coming up next, we'll be talking to Jim Loria as the Curtis Riggs Show continues. And when we go off the air, we'll take your third caller, 336-1234, free tickets for the game on Monday, brought to you by Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. Back right after this.
The Sheraton Sioux Falls.
Your body is a complex arrangement of bone and tissue that requires only the best to maintain it. At Orthopedic Institute, that's our specialty. Our services have been specifically tailored to provide the best orthopedic care in the region. Orthopedics is what we do. That's why Orthopedic Institute is the one to trust to keep your body in motion.
Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230. Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
And welcome back to the Curtis Riggs Show. Again, this segment brought to you by Lewis Pharmacies. And the ticket giveaway is brought to you by them. Get in, get out, feel better. After the interview, we'll take your third caller, 336-1230, for 4 free tickets to the Storm game on Monday night at 6 o'clock against Cedar Rapids Titans. He is the Director of Corporate Partnerships with the Sioux Falls Storm, Jim Loria. And Jim, it's been a long time since our first game. We've had the bye. Now we got another week to wait. But there's a lot of exciting things going to be coming up for the Sioux Falls Storm fans in that first game coming up, a Monday night game at 6 o'clock next Monday at the Denny Sanford Premier Center.
Well, welcome, Rich. Yeah, we've got a lot of things on the plate opening night. Some fun new promotions at the game I think the fans will find fascinating. One of them, for example, quarterback sacks, a big part of the game that the fans I've always got riled up for when you see a Storm player, sack the visiting quarterback. Well, this year, Caribou Coffee Einstein Bagels have come in, and they're going to reward a row of fans. Every time we sack the quarterback, one row of fans is going to win a sack of 6 bagels.
Oh, my.
Which will be kind of fun, so hopefully we get a few of those every game. There's a fun promotion that Billion Hyundai Mazda is going to do with us. It's called the Billion Frisbee Frenzy, where every game at home, at the very start of the second quarter, we're going to have our Lightning Girls team and the Thunder Squad guys throw Frisbees into the audience, all over the audience. There'll be one for every player on the field for the Storm. So the first touchdown scored by a Storm player, it can be offense or defense, whoever scores the touchdown, if you've got the number that matches that player's jersey on your Frisbee, bring it down. We have a fan info table, and Billion Hyundai Mazda is going to give you a $100 Visa gift card.
Really?
Yeah, and then if we score a second or third or fourth touchdown in the second quarter, you got the matching Frisbee. Billion Automotive is going to give you a free oil change, which is about a $40 value for those touchdowns, numbers 2, 3, 4, or 5 in the second quarter. So something different like that we're gonna have fun with. And then one of the cute ones, I'm waiting to see what's going to happen here, is Buffalo Wild Wings has done this in another market or two. It's a chicken race is what they're calling it, and they've got these Buffalo Wild Wings chicken suits. And so we're going to look for 2 couples. They'll start on the goal line. One will wear the chicken suit, and the other one's going to be the quarterback. And they can throw it however far they want, but it's a speed game, and you want to advance from goal line to goal line. So you want to throw, catch, then get to that marked line, and then throw again, and the other person's got to catch it. First couple to get to the goal line and score gets each person of the family gets a $25 gift card from Buffalo Wild Wings.
Oh my!
So, yeah, a lot of fun things going to go on this year. Like last year, we had that Make It Rain promotion that the fans really enjoyed. Boyer Trucks has done a wonderful job with it, and we pick one section randomly, and 50 footballs come raining down onto that particular section. So, just part of our job is just to have fun. We got to have fun at the game, and give people something to look at as winning. All throughout the game. That's kind of the motto, is to find winning, fun promotions that the fans can have a fun time with.
Plus, you have a jersey giveaway for that first game.
It was popular last year big time. Well, this one, I've mentioned this before, this one is a huge step up over the one we did a year ago. And these are for kids 12 and under. And they're in town already, so they've arrived. There's 1,000 of them. We'll have 4 sizes, child, small, medium, large, and extra large. So there's 1,000 of them. So they'll go, and we'll be 12 and unders we're looking for, and they'll be right before the game, and the doors open at 5. So that's another thing that the fans can look forward to. And another thing, Rich, too, is we have as every game we do a silent auction, and we have a fundraiser, and this one's going to be the Taken by Storm Fund, which is the monies will go to our scholarship fund, actually the Quinn Pasica Memorial Scholarship Fund. But this is a big surprise, and I think it's going to go well. We've got the jersey, and I'm not saying they're game worn, but it's the Cleveland Cavaliers jersey from LeBron James signed by the King, and a jersey from Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors signed by him. So 2 of probably one of the most well-known athletes in the sporting world will have their jerseys at the silent auction come Monday night. So a lot of wonderful gifts. We've got 20 sports memorabilia items that we're going to put up there. One of them is from Carson Wentz, the quarterback with the Eagles, played at North Dakota. Actually, Case Keenum's Minnesota Vikings signed jersey. We're kind of thinking ahead now if Kirk Cousins signs with the Vikings. We've got Kirk's rookie card signed by him that we'll have there as well, and some other Vikings paraphernalia too. And so a lot of fun things going to happen at the game Monday night. So looking forward to it.
Plus, on Sunday you have a bingo Sunday. Tell us about that.
We do. Yep, it'll be a busy weekend with the Sunday-Monday combo, but we actually are doing 3 family fun Sunday bingo events. They're going to be, the first one's this Sunday, March 11th. 1 to 3 at Burnside Bingo. It's a fun thing, Rich. It's a $10 cost, and you get 20 games of bingo. We're going to have a 50-50 raffle that the people can buy. We're actually going to be selling these Texas Roadhouse fundraising cards where you can get 8 different amazing meal discounts, and it sells for $10 in its own merit, but it's a $50 card for $10. We'll have them there at the bingo hall to sell. We'll have a few silent auction items, so it's a fun thing. Our Lightning Girls help us out, and again, the proceeds from that going to be donated to the Quinn Pasica Memorial Scholarship Fund. So that's coming up Sunday, and tickets are sold at the door, not through the storm. You just walk in. They have a box office when you walk into Burnside Bingo, and they'll sell you your tickets. It's a great family fun outing for the kids and the family.
Good stuff, Jim. Fantastic. See you down the road Sunday and Monday for the Sioux Falls Storm.
Thank you.
Jim Loria, Director of Corporate Partnerships with the Sioux Falls Storm. A lot of neat stuff coming up. And as we go to break, we'll take your third caller, 336-1230. Lewis Pharmacies, get in, get out, feel better. 4 free tickets for the game on Monday. Back right after this.
So you need to see a doctor. Waiting to see a doctor?
What's taking so long?
It can take a while.
I don't have time for this.
Or longer than a while.
We've been here 2 hours.
Forever.
Hello?
What would you say if there was another option?
Finally.
Yes.
It's about time.
We're inclined to agree. It's about time for the best patient care. Sioux Falls Urgent Care.
You're listening to The Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
And welcome back to The Curtis Riggs Show. This segment brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. And they're located 917 South Cliff Avenue. Sliced, fresh, baked fresh, made fresh. Come see what fresh really is. And that's at Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. And he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. Cedar Rapids Titans coming into town on Monday. We talked about it briefly at the start of the show, but they defeated the Green Bay Blizzard 47-39. And if you're going to capsulize what Cedar Rapids has as a ball club that would create concerns for you, how would you kind of encapsulate the Titans?
I think they play hard. I mean, I think Coach Jones is, he has a crew of players that you really don't recognize any of them. So you can't really go off that. But as you watch them play, they play hard. And the one thing I think when teams are identified as maybe a team that is going to struggle, that it really brings them together. And that's what, when you watch them, you can tell that they're playing to prove a point. And I thought they played very well against Green Bay, who's always a very well-coached team. And they control the majority of the game. Even when Green Bay would come back, take the lead, or tie the game, they would come right back with an answer. And they were consistent all game long.
Their quarterback, Jake Medlock, was 17 of 22, 223 yards, long of 40, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He also ran for another touchdown. When you have a quarterback that puts up those solid numbers, that just makes him a threat at all times.
And I thought he did a good job controlling the game, managing the game, getting rid of the ball. He throws well. Green Bay even had pressure in his face at times, and he stood in there and knew where he was going with the football.
And he spread the ball around. He had 5 different receivers, 3 with touchdowns. So he's not afraid to spread the ball around as far as that's concerned to his wide receivers. How about their running game? Tell us a little bit about that.
They used 2 backs, and I thought their starting running back, a good quality back. I mean, he's solid. And then they bring in a little scat back that also returns kicks for him. That's a very quick, shifty guy. So they have 2 different styles. I think the pass is probably the scarier of the 2, but they do a good job staying with the run. They'll continue to come at you and just try to keep you honest.
Looking at their defense, looking at the stats, Moses White, a defensive back, led the team with 12 tackles. He had a broken pass. He had a fumble recovery, forced fumble also. Couple tackles for loss. He sounds like he was really a force as far as their defensive unit was concerned.
Well, and they flew around. They were really flying around the field. They didn't sit back on their heels as Green Bay tried to run it right at them. They really came downhill fast. They did a very good job with their red zone defense. Green Bay struggled to try to power it through at them. They were very attacking, and it's very hard to pass in those end zones in Cedar Rapids. And they played to that advantage.
Well, Coach, bottom line as far as taking on the Cedar Rapids Titans, what's the bottom line for the Sioux Falls Storm?
Well, the bottom line really has nothing to do with Cedar Rapids. The bottom line is just us coming out and playing solid football. I mean, against Arizona, we played some really good football at times. And then at times we did things that you would expect in the first game. Now, can we start to eliminate those mistakes, eliminate those things? And I think if we can continue to get better, we could have a pretty good group here.
Sounds great, Coach. We'll talk to you before the game on Monday at the Denny Sanford Premier Center. Kickoff is at 6:05.
Thanks, Rich.
He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. And this segment brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs, 917 South Cliff Avenue, sliced fresh, baked fresh, made fresh. Come see what fresh really is. Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. We'll be back with the final segment after we pause for this timeout. This is KWSN.
When people think of Uncle Ed's specialty meat,
breathe easier when you have your ducts cleaned by Waterbury. Call us today. Routine services can save you money in the long run. Call Waterbury to schedule yours today.
You're listening to The Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
And welcome back to our final segment of The Curtis Riggs Show. And this segment brought to you by Boyer Ford Trucks, the official sponsor of our weekly podcast of The Curtis Riggs Show. That's Boyer Ford Trucks, celebrating 30 years of being employee-owned sales parts service. We keep you moving. That's Boyer Trucks. And you can view the Curtis Riggs Show live, or not live, but recorded on the Sioux Falls Storm website, siouxfallsstorm.com, and that will be up tomorrow morning, and you can watch the Curtis Riggs Show, and all of the previous ones, too, are all archived on the Sioux Falls Storm website. So after we go off the air, we'll have another Storm ticket giveaway brought to you by Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. That's Lewis Pharmacies. And we'll take the third caller, 336-1230, for 4 free tickets to the Storm game as they host Cedar Rapids on Monday at 6 o'clock at the Denny Sanford Premier Center. Thanks to the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs, and the official sponsors, that's Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital, the Storm official healthcare team, and the only 5-star rated hospital in Sioux Falls, and by Orthopedic Institute, the one to trust. Remember, no Curtis Riggs Show next week as the Storm are playing at home. Kickoff is at 6:05, and you can hear the game right here on KWSN. Thank you to John Michaels, our KWSN studio producer and engineer, along with all of you, our listening audience, for making us a part of your day. And you've been listening to the Curtis Riggs Show right here on FM 98.1, AM 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Good night, everybody.